Visiting Kingdom Hearts worlds is always a joy, and it's always hype when a trailer drops that shows us brand new worlds we've never been to. And there are still so many Disney worlds that haven't been used that are on many people's bucket lists. Other than the films though, there are other great avenues for potential Disney worlds that seem to be left to the wayside when they really shouldn't. And that comes to us in the form of the Disney Channel TV shows. Now when you hear Disney Channel, some people's minds go directly to stuff like The Sweet Life of Zack and Cody, or That's So Raven, or Cory in the House, but I'm talking about shows that could actually work in the context of Kingdom Hearts. I'm here to tell you there are lots more shows that aren't sitcoms that could definitely work in a Kingdom Hearts setting. Disney Channel had so much great content and so many memorable shows with memorable characters and interesting settings, yet Kingdom Hearts seems to just ignore these aspects that they could use, and they only ever put in the films. Granted, I know the films are more well known, but in terms of maximizing good content, there are even some shows I think are better than some of the films they could potentially choose from. And on that note, don't be like Disney and ignore this. Punch me square in my subscribe button so you get more gaming content. So now, I'll break down some of the Disney Channel shows they could use, whether it be in Kingdom Hearts 4 or in future installments. The first show they could use was definitely one that we normally wouldn't see from Disney, and it even had to go through the ringer at Disney before it was ever greenlit, and that show was Gargoyles. Gargoyles was definitely Disney's dark horse and much more action-oriented and grim than any other show they had playing on Disney Channel. The themes of family, friendship, and love are still there, but it's told in a more mature way that doesn't talk down to kids, which is why the show and its characters are so beloved by fans. The show primarily takes place in New York City, with many of the characters being named after different areas. We have Brooklyn, Lexington, Broadway, who would one day voice Patrick Star, Hudson, and Bronx. Your main party member would obviously be their leader Goliath, and maybe since Cage 3 bumped up the number of party members, we could also have Elisa Mazza, who was a friend of the Gargoyles and Goliath's main love interest. And speaking of love, this was one of the aspects that could replace Beauty and the Beast as a world if they choose not to bring it back. As the series and its creators have said during the success of Beauty and the Beast when it was released, they went and tried that again with Goliath and Elisa, and their relationship grows throughout the series. There are so many possibilities with this world. You could keep Sora, Donald, and Goofy the way they are, or we could see them transform themselves into gargoyles as well. And if that happened, it would be so much fun just to glide around New York at night. And if your response might be, but New York is in the real world, I don't see how that's a problem since we have already been to London, England back in Kingdom Hearts 1. Or if they really don't want to use New York and want to keep away from some of the more real aspects like armed robberies and street gangs, there are other places of importance in Gargoyles they could use, like Avalon for example, and they could adapt on the arcs that focus more on the medieval and magical elements of Gargoyles. Another issue people had with Kingdom Hearts 3 was the lack of Disney villains to fight, since you know Davy Jones was literally the only one. The rest were just heartless bosses. Whereas back in the day we had Clayton, Jafar, Ursula, Shan Yu, Scar, and a bunch of others. 90% of the time in the Disney worlds the final boss was the main villain of the film. I am still and forever will be annoyed that we didn't fight Zurg in Toy Story. That wouldn't be the case in a Gargoyles world. There is no shortage of villains to pick from, like Demona, Xanatos, Macbeth, Cold Steel, Thailog, just to name a few. And with those villains come many story arcs spanning the series that Nomura and his team could pick from. And that's a big advantage. That's not only unique to Gargoyles, but all the shows I'm going to talk about. Instead of just doing sequel movies or trying to come up with some original plot, you can adapt already loved arcs and see how Sora, Donald, and Goofy alter them by being there, akin to the older Kingdom Hearts games. There's just so much potential for fun combat experiences, storytelling, and character depth, all of which was in the original Gargoyles show, that it would be a travesty if we never see this world appear in a Kingdom Hearts game. The next world I'm going to mention has one of, if not the catchiest tunes in television history, and that is DuckTales. There's the classic version and the reboot. I watched both and really enjoyed both. Honestly, if they went with the reboot, I would be fine with it, because I thought it was great, and because it's more recent, they might opt to do this version. However, if they went with the classic version, I would still love that. We already have Scrooge in Kingdom Hearts, and Huey, Dewey, and Louie. As for how Duckburg could work, I don't think we need to overthink this, but if you want a reason, Duckburg could just be a place on its own near Disney Castle, and with Scrooge's vast amount of wealth, he put his money bin there and business headquarters, since I'm sure King Mickey wouldn't want Scrooge's money bin inside of his castle. That's not much of a leap considering Donald has already mentioned now in Kingdom Hearts 2 that Scrooge is trying to set up a transit system between worlds for business ventures. Not to mention, we see Scrooge in Kingdom Hearts 3 in Twilight Town funding Remy's Bistro, aka Little Chef. Now, with the in-game explanation out of the way, this would be a great world to develop Donald as a character, especially if they did pick the reboot version. What Donald has gone through losing his sister Della and having to raise Huey, Dewey, and Louie on his own and then having to leave them to help Sora could show us more of his family mentality and him having to give up his time with his own family to save the world with Sora. Also, just like Gargoyles, there are so many villains to choose from in DuckTales. You have Flintheart, Glumgold, Magica Dispel, the Beagle Boys, Lunaris, and way more, though I do feel Magica would be the best one to choose from first. For party members, you would definitely get Scrooge and maybe Gizmo Duck. I could also see them doing a minigame where Sora dives into Scrooge's money bin and swims through it like he does. And I could also envision Heartless that take the form of money in coins or dollar bills, and I think that would be hilarious. Having Scrooge nearly have a heart attack from watching us destroy money right in front of him. And seeing as how DuckTales is all about adventure, Duckburg could just be the starting point and you travel to many other locations around Duckburg, solving ancient mysteries. And maybe one of those mysteries is connected to ancient magic or items that the villains of the main Kingdom Hearts story are also after. And taking you to these places could also be Launchpad McQuack. And I can totally see a minigame with Launchpad where you have to help him steer the plane without crashing it, or the complete opposite, a minigame about doing the best crashes. This is Launchpad we're talking about. And you can't mention Launchpad without mentioning another fan favorite character, Darkwing Duck. Darkwing Duck could totally get his own world within St. Canard. Everybody keeps talking about superheroes and Marvel getting in, but I would want Darkwing Duck first, as he still fits the superhero theme and is from Disney proper. Also, again, with the DuckTales reboot, he's been introduced to a new generation to enjoy. It was a fun action-based show, and the minigames they could introduce in this world could be fun as well, like riding around on Darkwing Duck's motorcycle or in the Thunderquack. Oh man, I'm such a huge Darkwing Duck fan. It would also be really cool if they added the Thunderquack to a gummy ship blueprint so we can fly around with that the entire game. You also have great villains like Megavolt, Bushroot, Tuskernini, and Quackerjack, and the best villain being Negaduck. Come on, give Jim Cummings something other to do than Winnie the Pooh characters in Kingdom Hearts. I know I also said at the beginning they could introduce these worlds either in Kingdom Hearts 4 or in future installments, but I specifically think Darkwing Duck would work really well in Kingdom Hearts 4, as there is already a storyline they could adapt that would fit perfectly concerning the finding of Sora and how to get to him. You see, one of the villains, Taurus Bulba, was developing a dimensional gate that could take you anywhere, even between alternate dimensions. Sora's friends could go to this world and trust Taurus Bulba by telling them about Sora and help him complete the machine in the hopes it could bring them to Sora. Enter Goslin, who tells the group and Darkwing that Tuskernini is actually a villain and that her grandfather was a casualty of his arrogance and ego wanting to take over the project. Then you have a battle over this trans-dimensional gateway. On the flip side, if they choose to introduce this world after saving Sora, fitting with the theme of Kingdom Hearts, we could see Sora and the others help Goslin, and Sora could see how much Drake Mallard, aka Darkwing Duck, is a good father figure to Goslin. This could well up emotions inside Sora, making him miss his own parents, and we can finally see a scene with him and his mom who's still waiting for him to come home for dinner.
Sora, dinner's ready. Come on down. Sora?
That probably will never happen though. Our next world is another one people would be familiar with. All you have to do is call her, beep her if you want to reach her, and that obviously is a Kim Possible world. While there is a good amount of high school issues Kim goes through, you could just adapt the world to when she's already on one of her adventures to avoid the high school drama. They could also adapt one of the films or specials instead. Your partners would obviously be Kim and Ron, and while there are many enemies to choose from in the series, I think most people would want to see Dr. Draken and Shigo as the final bosses of the world. Kim Possible does contain a lot of action and adventure, so it's not unreasonable to have them get their own world in Kingdom Hearts. Disney also tried to bring back Kim Possible in the form of live action because of how popular it is, so the brand is still recognizable to people, but we just don't talk about the live action one anymore. I would also love to see a Nako minigame where Sora has to stuff his mouth with as many Nakos as possible within a time limit. And Kim Possible also crossed over with another Disney Channel show, show that felt very Kingdom Heartsy in its cameos. However, I do not think this next show should be a world per se. I would prefer doing the actual film, but in terms of new collectibles, it would be great, and that's the Lilo and Stitch show. Again, while not a fully fledged world, I think it would be a cool idea to have new collectibles in Kingdom Hearts with Stitch's cousins, and we could collect all of them, paying homage to how we collected the puppies in Kingdom Hearts 1. Also, the Lilo and Stitch show may as well have been a mini Kingdom Hearts show with how many times they crossed over with other Disney properties. I feel like collecting the experiments would fit perfectly. And those are the Disney Channel worlds I think should be in Kingdom Hearts. I want these shows in not only because they would be great and add value to the franchise, but I don't think Disney would have as tight a hold on them as, say, Frozen. And the Square team would be much freer with what they want to adapt. On that note, are there any other Disney TV shows that could work and mesh well together in Kingdom Hearts that you would want to see? Let me know. Share your thoughts down with everyone in the comments below. I can't wait to read what worlds you guys would want. And if you want more Kingdom Hearts content, click on this video right over here. Or since you love crossover games like Kingdom Hearts, have a look at these iconic game characters being thrust into other games and seeing if they would live or die. Thanks again for watching, and I hope you have an awesome day. Nath out.